Carnath getting that mouse cursor nice and off the screen for us, just to maybe save a bit of our viewers' sanity while we're watching this. And there we go.
Who's gonna make it to the castle first?
Uncle never makes it to the castle. Spoilers. Ooh!
That's an interesting start.
That's a really tempting start, seeing Book in the Uncle's house. You know, for all I go on and on about Bo being a good marker for Eastern Palace, now I want to see a ped check before anyone hits Kakariko.
And what if the fire rod shows up? That's going to be hard not to go there early, possibly.
Also, of course, points to a potential early desert play. And you were saying something about a fire rod?
I am a psychic. Don't hate me.
So Carnathfd taking out those two guards right at the start because he knows he has the magic refills under those pots. Runners are still going to be farming for bombs when possible to get at that last 3 chests in the back of Escape.
I am a big fan of the fire rod start because it's so fast killing the enemies, but yeah, the bombs are always the big worry with this.
The good news is if you've done your study, and if you're like some runners who will even have a map of the escape sequence on their hard drive, it's pretty easy to keep track of where the magic refills are. And with the accuracy of the fire rod, you only need a few shots during the whole escape sequence. So you can take out a fair number of enemies hoping to get that bomb drop.
Yeah, and I definitely like Carnath's play there of already using some shots to take out those early guards to try and get that bomb drop.
So for those who aren't familiar with the item drop mechanics, the runners here are going to, of course, be trying to get some bombs. And every time you defeat an enemy that doesn't have a specific drop, like, say, a key, there's a 50-50 chance it'll drop something. And so you're essentially flipping a coin flip every time you take out a guard. And if that guard has something and drops something, then the next guard will give you something else from the same set of 8 items. And so you're hoping to go through that prize pool, go through all 8 items, and see if you can come up with some bombs somewhere. Just 20 rupees in the boomerang chest.
Yeah, and as he was bringing up earlier about the escape sequence, there's a number of pots in the dark part of it down at the bottom where the lamp will come in handy, where you can get more magic to do more of those kills.
Even better, when you pick up a pot, you can throw it and take out a rat. So no major revelations so far in the escape sequence. Just that initial book in Link's house being really tempting towards our runners.
Yeah, and at least on Carnath's side, even though they hadn't hit bombs yet, getting 60 rupees is nice, so he can buy bombs in Kakariko or the Lake Hyula area shop.
Yeah, that's certainly going to be something he doesn't have to worry about with his current money levels. Skipsy might have a bit more concern, but, you know, the runners are going to see the same drops when they start defeating guards, so that's not off the table on Skipsy's side.
I'm thinking Skipsy's might choose to try and hit multiple snakes in the hallway with the fire rod now.
I'm starting to suspect that as well, and of course, you know, that fire rod shot lingers on the screen for a couple seconds. If you get lucky, it's possible to have multiple rats run into that, and you can up your chances for that bomb drop. Looks like Skipsy's more concerned about saving that magic, though, not going to take anything out. At this point, Skipsy may have kind of accepted, hey, I'm not going to get bombs here. I'm just going to go through and maybe loop back through escape later if I have to.
Yeah, I always say the fire rod. You definitely want to make sure you have enough magic in case you accidentally maybe miss the rat once, because that would be pretty saddening if it happened.
And there he's got it. That one rat hoarding a key. So, of course, in the vanilla Link to the Past game, once you've gone through this escape sequence, you can't get back down into the sewers through the castle. If you want to get down to the sewers, you have to lift a rock in the graveyard and push a gravestone and drop through. In the randomized version, we mess with it a bit, and that altar that you pushed in the throne room is always going to stay open. So the runners are able to go back through that sequence at any time they want. It's faster if they have the glove, but for all we know, the power glove could be hiding behind that wall.
Well, with no luck for either racer on getting bombed at the start, at least both of them leave with that same result.
Yeah, I'm sure each of them is going to be worried, hey, I hope my opponent didn't get anything. And Skipsy does the save and quit there just to get back up to full health.
It's definitely a smart play. I'll be honest, most of the time I don't even think of that as an option.
Well, and normally I wouldn't consider it, except being down at half a heart, you know, one hit out in the overworld, suddenly you've taken the death and you're back at Sanctuary anyways. Might as well take that save and quit now when it's safe. Skipsy going for the tree pull here. Yeah, ironically, getting some hearts out of the deal.
It's a very loving tree.
And a very loving hoarder crab today. And looks like that was just 20 rupees in the Lumberjack Cave, so Aga not required for that item. But of course, never off the table till we see that Dark World access and hammer.
Yep, it looks like Skipsy's is going to do the 4 enemy kill for a second tree attempt.
Now that's an interesting play. Quite often I see runners just going for one enemy kill between these two trees to get that first tier pull. But 4 kills without taking damage is going to give him some different information. Looks like that mushroom spot just has 50 rupees.
Yeah, I think he missed the last one, though. It's really hard to tell if you kill the crab inside of the tree trunk.
And chat pointing out, neither of our runners have decided to go check the pedestal with that book. As I say that, Skipsy looks to be headed straight to the pedestal with the book.
Well, I know that if it's early, it is good to know, but I'm fine with not checking it either, because maybe you can route it later while you're in Skull Woods.
Well, pedestal's not going to be required for that arrow upgrade. And Carnath makes his way down to the shop in the bottom to buy that 10 bombs for 50 rupees. This is where that money he picked up in Escape starts coming in handy, because even after buying that, there's enough guaranteed money in the village he will be able to buy from the bottle vendor.
Yeah, that's definitely a positive, because there's no guarantee that any of these chests will have rupees at all.
No, you can count on 30 rupees in Blind's Hut and 20 in the Well, but that's about it for guaranteed stuff. And what's in Blind's Hut there? 20 rupees, a red potion, some bombs finally.
Nothing too crazy, but the money definitely helps Skipsies get up to that 100 as well.
Ooh, and a mushroom coming out of the back of the hut. Now, the bottle's a great thing to find here, because at least you can do your sick kid fetch quest on your first pass through the village. That mushroom at this point in the game is just obnoxious.
Yeah, and the thing is it has a decently good chance of being required to even get out of the light world.
Ooh, silver arrows, more money in the well, and some upgrades, but silver arrows not very good without the bow at this point.
You would think Link would just learn how to stab with them.
And Quake Battalion coming from the bottle vendor. So after that initial pass through Kakariko, now we still haven't seen Race Game and Sick Kid, but we're disturbingly light on progression for these runners. The only real thing we've opened up at this point is access to Desert Palace with the book, and of course, Desert Palace, you might even need the boots to complete.
Yeah, and they'll still also need the Tier 1 gloves to get to the back, too.
That's right. Sick Kid giving a heart container, so, you know, that mushroom starting to look tempting. I'm sure both runners will do the South Shore first. And, you know, you can trade in that mushroom, but it takes so long to walk to, it's certainly not going to be a priority at the start of the game.
Yep, library just having some bombs, so they probably won't ever go back there.
And Carnath not even bothering to check what's at the race game at this point. I think he's feeling starved enough for items, probably pretty confident there will be something good here.
I almost always, when you go to Kakariko the first time, a lot of things that are B here you'd probably want to get anyway. That being one of the few exceptions, possibly. But
well, you know, when you're already 2/3 of the way through the race game and you see that bomb upgrade there, I think that's the time you pick it up. When you say, hey, I've already sunk this much time. At the very least, if I run into a giant bomb drop, I want to be able to bank those bombs for later, because they can turn into a surprisingly scarce commodity in the first half an hour, 45 minutes of a race. As the race goes on, of course, usually you end up with enough that you're not going to get blocked.
yeah, and since he has no magic, for any Mordon game, he's going to have to pretty much rely on those bombs, too.
Oh, that's completely correct. And there we have the Power Glove, meaning that Desert Palace is potentially completable. Of course, without a map check yet from either runner, we don't even know if those will be required.
I could actually see him maybe just checking the map, and if it's crystal, maybe just going there from here.
Yeah, many runners would do Mini Moldarm Cave first, but if you think you can beat it, certainly now would be a good time to try. And we do see him a bit on the fence about where he wants to go. So, JJ Blue, if I haven't seen this before, what the heck is a randomizer?
Well, the randomizer is where we take the normal game, Link to the Past, and we take every single item that you could get at any location and put it in any other random location. So you could get something vanilla like the bow in Eastern's big chest, or you could even find the bow in the middle of T-Rock. And the whole goal is to try and route and find all the items to complete the game as fast as possible, as you would in the normal game.
That's right. Get those 7 crystals, defeat Ganon by way of beating his tower. I see Carnath did get a full magic refill from taking out Mini Moldarms. That's got to be great to find when you're running around with the Fire Rod as your only real weapon. And he's going to save and quit out of there. Where is he off to? Mini Moldarm Cave came up with nothing.
Oh, he's got magic. I guess Desert's the play now.
And Skipsy headed east. Probably going to be checking on Ice Rod Cave. Could try a fake flipper up to the Zora area, but without the Moon Pearl, you can't check on the contents of the Waterfall Cave, and without the flippers, you can't get the item from the ledge, and, well, without 500 rupees, you can't buy from Zora, so that's not a play we're likely to see right now.
I could maybe see it just to go to Hobo and check the ledge. The Hylia ledge. Mainly just because the Hobo is a pretty out-of-the-way location, so a lot of times you don't like to do all of it at once if you have the choice anyway.
This is true. Oh, Agina's Cave gives us a sword, though. I suppose that's not going to progress through the seed at this point either. It's just going to make things a lot nicer for anything they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, having that one-tier sword definitely makes doing dark rooms a lot easier, because then you have something to use to keep up with your location.
When Carnath checks that ledge, just 300 rupees. Might still see him pick that up for the potential of needing it for Zora, but again, not really going to advance him.
And what's Sahasahashahajala have today?
Three chests in the back, an arrow upgrade. 20 bucks. 20 bucks?
Well, that's definitely... Oh, Moon Pearl!
Moon Pearl coming out of Desert Palace. And we did see a map check from Skipsy. Green Pendant. The reward for beating Eastern Palace, and crystals at Hera and Desert. Unfortunately, Carnath can't finish Desert right now, because that big key is locked on that torch. He's going to need boots to finish this up.
Yeah, it is sad in that regard, but he will get the money at least from here, and that means he could do the Zora break if he chooses to go down there now.
Yeah, and that's got to be tempting. I'm starting to wonder if Zora's going to have, say, a hammer or another glove, because either of those would give Dark World access at this point. Of course, the other possibility is we would see the lamp come up, and that would give the runners access to Death Mountain.
Carnath is going to go grab those items now at the back of Escape.
Oh, that's right. Both our runners had to skip that, but fortunately with that glove you can get there.
Almost is a pretty decent find for effectiveness to kill large groups of enemies.
It's good for that. It makes me a bit worried for these runners that, you know, maybe this will indicate an early Mire play or an early Turtle Rock play if Bombos is the randomized medallion required to open those.
So at this point, I'm expecting Eastern or Zora has to have something that would make sense, because we can't even get and fight Aghanim to get to the Dark World either right now.
That's right. One Master Sword and a lamp showing up, and I'll start to think, oh no, this is an Aga seed. But for the moment, you know, if Skipsy doesn't find something in Eastern, then we're down to Zora or that mushroom at the Witch's Hut. Good news is we have a couple sequence breaks we can do. Just Skipsy's going to run through this dark room, ignore the fact that the game says, hey, you're supposed to have a lamp for this. And he may be able to find something to break the seed open beyond the dark.
So yeah, items as far as the gifts progression, lamp would give us Death Mountain, flute would give us Death Mountain. We could also get the boots to actually be able to beat Desert for one more item.
Yeah, you know, that sounds pretty plausible at this point. Skipsy has to pick up a couple hearts before he can damage boost his way through that switch. And the last chest available in Eastern Palace is just a heart container. A welcome sight, but again, not going to open anything up for these runners. So I think we're down to Zora and Mushroom for these runners.
Yep. I'm really thinking that Mushroom is probably where the progression is at this point. And I'm not going to throw the progression out there. I'm going to say it's probably just Hammer. Nothing super special.
That would, yeah, be pretty plain, but at least that would do something for them. The flute, at this point, is actually not that interesting because it only really opens up one spot on Death Mountain with their current gear. You know, one more if they're okay doing the Old Man Room in the dark, but they've got that currently with the mitts.
Yeah, I mean, I could say Boots probably has a good chance of showing up because that would give them 2 more locations, and easily one of those could then give the next progression to get out of the Dark World.
That's right. In addition to the 1 remaining item in Desert that Skipsy's going to be picking up shortly, or rather, Skipsy's going to get the first item, the Moon Pearl, shortly. Boots do open up the Bonk Rocks.
I mean, there could be some really interesting seed points. Like, you get Boots, you go to Bonk Rocks. Bonk Rocks gives you Lamp, so you can go up Death Mountain. Hookshot is on Death Mountain to go to the left side of Death Mountain, and then you finally get Hammer for Dark World access.
Well, that sounds a lot nicer than an egg up play. I'm starting to hope that's what we see. And Carnath gets all the way to that last chest, gets that heart container, and save and quits out as well.
That is definitely going to be a looming place later in case the green pendant actually matters.
And Skipsy with the save and quit, so both runners clearing up the same areas within a few seconds of each other at the start of this race. Carnath now is going to walk up to the Mushroom, hand that in, and we'll have to see if he decides to walk all the way through Zora or if he opts for a fake flipper play.
The one worry is Skipsy did not pick up the 300 rupees, so they currently are lacking the money for Zora.
Oh no, that could hurt if it comes down to that. Skipsy's headed back to the village. I'm not 100% certain what he's going for. He may have missed checking the sick kid on his first visit.
That's not what I expected.
And Skipsy's going to check that. Carnath finds the Cane of Samaria at the Witch, which is a fantastic find that is, at this moment, entirely useless to them.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that's what it was.
I mean, on the one hand, that's fantastic. That's one less progression item required to beat the game that you don't have to worry about. On the other hand, that does absolutely nothing to advance you through this seed, and I think Carnath knows at this point it's got to be Zora with some progression for him.
Alright guys, throw out your guesses while he's walking up here. What progression is it going to be?
I'm really starting to think Lamp. And yes, that's right. This is one of those seeds where it's actually impossible to use that fake powder glitch if you wanted to, because that requires having the Mushroom and the Cane simultaneously.
Well, sorry guys.
Well, there's Dark World access. 500 rupees for a hammer on Zora. That's a huge boost for Carnath because Skipsy, not picking up those 300 on the ledge, is going to be looking for money for quite some time.
Now that we've got dark mode access, let's go check out the Great Hype Cave. We're lacking a lot of items, so it could actually be hype.
Yeah, there's I mean, they've collected a fair amount for how long it took to find a hammer, but still a lot on the table that Hype Cave could hold. And Skipsy got that red cane, is now probably aware that this is down to Zora and is going to have to do some farming.
Probably going to see Houlihan is my guess.
Blue mail, the flute, and some other stuff coming out of Spike Cave. And Skipsy's setting up for the Houlihan room.
I'd say that was a pretty decent cave. Getting the blue mail and the flute is definitely nice.
And the blue boomerang at the back and some bombs. It was a pretty blue cave. It looks like Skipsy's setup of Houlihan didn't quite work. Perhaps he didn't go high enough on that screen with the falls.
I know that usually when I do it, I go into that cave to just make sure it works, because I've had problems doing it the other way myself as well.
Yeah, and that's effectively what Skipsy has done the second time around, since he had to come out of that cave. There's the Houlihan room. There's a free 225 rupees. He'll only be 4 short of Zora money at this point. So as Carnath activates that flute, very briefly, Skipsy was setting the game up to be confused. Going through a series of motions to dislodge the camera slightly so that when he falls down the hole, the game goes, hang on, I have no idea where you're supposed to go. And as an error-correcting measure, it just drops the player into that special room, the Houlihan room, which has 225 rupees once. Great way to farm up money, and a useful trick to know about when you're trying to get that money for Zora at the end.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know there's many runs I've had to use it just to get your money caught up to do one of those plays like that.
And specifically what happens is every time you fall into the water, the camera just shifts slightly from where it's supposed to be. Carnath gives us a map check. That was incredibly quick. I think I saw a red mail on, or a red pendant on Thieves Town, and I didn't catch anything else.
I think ice was one of the red crystals. I saw one red on the opposite area that you did, so...
And I'm going to say Palace of Darkness was the other one, and maybe a pendant on Misery Mire. Carnath's so quick with that check. And Skipsy fake flippers to Hobo doesn't come out with any big sequence breaks there, so it's still going to be Zora for the hammer for him.
Yeah, hopefully he gets enough money drops as he's going to get that 4 rupee difference too.
He is going to have 2 chests in the waterfall cave here. Oh, just getting inside before that Zora fireball snipes him.
Yeah, whenever you arm the fake flippers, if you get hit while you're doing it, it's automatically a knockout.
And there's the 20 rupees Skipsy's going to need for Zora money, as well as another heart container. And Carnath's making his way through Skull Woods. I haven't seen anything great out of it just yet. Piece of Heart isn't terrible, but certainly is not enough for him to give up on this dungeon just yet. He's got the fire rod already, and I think this must be a crystal dungeon. He's headed straight to the back.
Well, I like this. We're probably going to get to see some Hammer Moth strats, which is always my fave.
Yeah, the hammer does, of course, do tempered sword damage, so only 4 hits required, but they are 4 difficult hits to land on the moth. Oh, and Skipsy's headed to the Dark World as well, but he's going to head to the village first. That means when he gets into Skull Woods, if he does that first, he's not going to have the flute early, and he's not going to have that blue mail.
Carnath taking a Death Warp. Makes sense for where he was at.
Yeah, this will give him a few hearts back too, which are always going to be a welcome sight for this moth fight. Oh, and a good use of Bombos here. Bombos taking as much magic as 2 Fire Rod shots, but it clears up all 4 Gibdos without any fighting. And he's able to reclaim that magic immediately.
Makes this room super easy to light the torches and continue.
I think that's one of those cases where you say, yeah, you know, Bombos takes forever to cast, but it's definitely worth it to save a bit of magic and be able to go into this moth fight with some more resources. Fortunately, a full magic drop gives Carnath a full bar of magic, so, you know, we could be seeing a mix of hammer and fire rod strats here.
Yeah, that was an amazing drop.
I've seen 3 hits with the fire rod so far. That's 4. He is not missing with this thing until there, and each fire rod shot does about half the effectiveness of a hammer. So
he should have
pretty close to winning this.
I think he has just 1 hammer hit, actually.
But did Skipsy just pick up the hook shot in the bombable hut in Village of Outcasts?
He did.
And Carnath got that red potion, putting it to great use to get all his hearts back. He still needs 1 hit, and it's hard to get here. That hammer hitbox being so weird, and it looks like he does need 1 more hit. Oh, hang in there, Carnath. Keep dodging. There we go.
Nice finish.
All right, so we see a pendant at Ice Palace, red crystals at Pod and Swamp Palace. Skipsy giving us plenty of time for a proper read of that map. And of course, a pendant at Thieves Town as well, where Skipsy's headed into right now.
So that hookshot will definitely help going through Thieves, because you'll get to move around a lot faster, hookshotting many of the locations in there.
Yeah, I'll be curious how much of this Skipsy decides to go for. You know, with the hammer, he can fully clear it out. With the sword, if he knows the pattern on blind, it won't be a difficult fight. But it is just for a pendant, and if these front 4 chests have a good set of items, we might see Skipsy nope out of here pretty quickly.
Yeah, that is definitely likely, since Skipsy did check the pedestal knowing that the pendant itself is not required.
Looks like he's going to keep heading on to the back half. We did miss those first 2 items, but I think Carnath will be headed in there soon, and we'll find out what, if anything, he picked up. Potential of 4 items total in Thieves Town.
And I can definitely understand both of them coming in here. Thieves Town is just such an easy dungeon to get to requirement-wise, and it's not a hard dungeon to usually go through with most gear that you have.
No, Carnath's going to have a bit of an edge here, since he's able to do this with Blue Mail. Skipsy has to be a bit more careful, because he's doing this without any form of safety other than that red potion.
So it looks like the beginning of Thieves didn't have really anything all that useful. I think they just got 1 item.
Right, so Skipsy's going to play this whole thing out, looking for those 4 items. Carnath may end up doing the same. I think there's Oh, Skipsy taking an unfortunate fall upstairs in that grasshopper room.
Yeah, the grasshoppers were dogpiling pretty hard there.
Unfortunately, didn't get that chest open, and he is going to head out of that dungeon for the time being. Those grasshoppers do 2 hearts per hit when you're on green mail. That's not a situation you want to be in.
Yeah, green mail dark world can definitely be dangerous because so many enemies in this area do so much more damage than in the light world.
Good news for Skipsy, though. He's headed south. He's going to check on Stumpy right here, and then he'll be over in Hype Cave. He'll get that blue mail.
So after Hype Cave, I would assume probably Skipsy will head up and either do Pyramid and Catfish, or maybe do a dip into Pod.
Yeah, that's definitely on the table. He does have a potion already, so we might see him be interested in using that new potion glitch to cover a bit more of Pod than he'd normally be able to without the bow. There's his flute, there's his blue mail, there's his bloomerang.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, chat. Currently, he still doesn't like the money to get in Pod yet.
Oh, that's correct. That's also why we saw him skip the digging game, because that takes an extortionate 80 rupees to go into. But Skipsy is going to head up to check on the pyramid, and who knows, if that has the money, we might see him head over to Pod, or we might just see a save and quit so he can go turn on that flute.
Yeah, and then from there, definitely Death Mountain's looking pretty good with that hook shot and hammer.
That's right, that is no longer a sequence break. He's going to not grab that piece of heart on the pyramid, but he is going to head up, I think, to the Catfish. Catfish being one of my least favorite spots in the entire game because it's so far out of the way, but right when you've checked on the pyramid is probably the best time to get it.
Yep, Carnath getting ether from the big chest. We'll see if that actually applies to this race.
That's got to give him some really good confidence, though. With the ether medallion, he's now got all 3, means he can enter Turtle Rock and Misery Mire no matter what is blocking them. So he can be a bit more free to just head to that area. And in fact, if we see the Titan's Mitts come out soon, Carnath, if he's comfortable with that dark basement, could be doing all of Misery Mire.
Very true. I just know that Mire, I think, is the scariest dark room out of all the dungeons.
Oh, without question.
Catfish just is showing you how to hold more arrows, so we'll see a nope out.
And a very nice blind fight from Carnath, but only getting a piece of heart out of that fight. So potentially the only value of that dungeon was Ether Medallion. If that.
So we'll get to see Digging Game probably from Carnath since he's got the money for it. Oh my.
Oh, and Skipsy was so starved for money he wasn't able to do chest game earlier. Carnath gets the Titan's Mitt out of it. That is huge.
Oh man, Death Mountain's gonna look so tasty in about 5 seconds for Carnath.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff you can route into one check or one pass of the mountain. You can top off that entire trip by going to Tower of Hera and getting a crystal from it.
So definitely a lot of value in Thieves' area, getting 2 major items right beside each other.
Oh, but Carnath's picking up that smith. He's going to go on a bit of a tour. No, he's going to skip. He's going to skip checking on Stumpy and just return that smith immediately. Meanwhile, Skipsy's going to pick up the old man from the cave.
Well, without Mirror, I kind of like this choice. And at some point, I'll have to go back down there.
And Skipsy makes it out of there with the old man in tow, using that sword effectively to figure out where in the game he was at any given moment, but only $5 for saving the old man. And 20 rupees for Carnath for saving the smith. Skipsy sees a piece of heart up on Death Mountain, and that might have been the powder inside Spectacle Rock.
That was the powder, and instantly jumps down and says, "I'd like that, please." And I guess he's going to save and quit and go to the old man?
Yeah, it is a bit faster, actually, to save and quit straight to the old man, rather than try to walk all the way out through that cave and hop down. You end up in the same spot, but maybe a couple seconds faster, and certainly on full health.
Yeah, with these cabbages raining down, I can understand wanting to have some health.
Alright, so Skipsy has to be a bit careful here, only in the sense that he doesn't have the mirror, so he doesn't want to enter the Dark World prematurely. He's definitely got what he needs, as well as Carnath, who's on his tail, to clear out all of these chests if he wants to.
Well, Skipsy can't do the Dark World side yet, because he didn't have that money, sadly.
Oh, that's right, he didn't have that money. He doesn't have Titan's Mitt, but he does have red mail now.
With Paradox Cave, the other half holding for us today.
Arrows, rupees, rupees. Ew. Rupees. And the Master Sword.
Yeah, I think the Master Sword's a good trade out of that.
That's fantastic timing for the Master Sword, because I think both of these runners are going to head up to Tower of Hera during this trip. And while you're there, you can use that book and harvest whatever's at the Ether Medallion, or the Ether Tablet. Without the Master Sword, you can read what's on there, but you don't have the power to actually pull that down from the heavens.
Alright, so Skipsy's going to be doing our patented sleeper variant of the cave.
Yeah, ideally you do this with boots, but hey, when you're in the area, you might as well clear it out. There's no better time than right now.
And while I know 20 rupees isn't the most exciting thing, this does help Skipsy's have enough money to hopefully do the rest of the Dark World Carnival the next time he goes to Thieves Town.
Yeah, you know, getting up to 172 where he is now is getting him pretty close to all the money he needs for the rest of the game. And hopefully it's just in the back of his mind that, hey, I couldn't afford digging. Hey, I couldn't afford chest game. I need to go back and do those when I'm in the Dark World.
Wow, those Moldorms both dropping a 20 together. That's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah, now he's definitely fine for cash. Looks like Carnath skipped on that Spike Cave. And he's going to show us our first Ether check.
The irony.
300 rupees, so all money problems are solved. Skipsy does the incredibly wise decision of letting that dead rock run through him rather than trying to slash at that thing, because that would just block him from crossing the bridge.
Yeah, dead rocks are definitely the bane of Death Mountain.
And so Tower of Hera has a crystal, has 2 potential items available, but both runners are going to have to do the basement here. And that means it's time for a coffee break.
Something I've been flirting with lately in this area is actually to choose to get hit, to get down to 1 heart while you're here, to make the death warp faster if you don't have mirror.
Yeah, that's definitely something these runners should consider, especially when they're faced with walking out. Otherwise, Carnath doing the clever little play of just using the iframes from these blocks to make sure that he doesn't have to worry about getting hit by the tiles. He can just stand there and they'll run against him and not do any damage, and he can, get a beverage, walk around the room, stretch, do whatever he needs to do to focus.
I know I've actually seen a few runners in their races actually take a bathroom break, and they'll be standing there for a short period of time afterwards.
Yeah, Skipsy not doing the break wants to stay alert doing this, and of course all of that work in the basement just to get the big key so you can head back up the tower.
Yeah, the reason why I brought up the death warping is that those tiles do a flat 1 heart of damage regardless of your mail, so it's not too hard to set up one with them.
Yeah, the red mail would make it hard for you to get down to 0 hearts just based on enemies alone. So that's always a good way to approach it. Spikes being another enemy in the game that always does a heart no matter how well armored you are. So at this point, we are 47 minutes into the race, and I get the feeling that Carnath has a pretty substantial lead here. He's cleared out Skullwoods already, did that right as soon as he got to the Dark World. He was the first runner to get to the Dark World, and he's also just running around with those Titan's Mitts, which is going to make his routing easier and gives him access to some earlier dungeons than Skipsy. So, yeah. Of course, this is Randomizer. Anything can happen. We do have that Ice Rod required to beat Turtle Rock, and we haven't seen it yet. But for the moment, Carnath's got a solid lead as we head kind of into the second act of this seed.
Yeah, it's been a tale of Skipsy just not having a lot of money and making it have to take extra effort just to do some of these locations that all take money and ended up having key progression items.
Yeah, as strange as it sounds to say this, those 300 rupees that Carnath saw sitting on the desert ledge that he picked up ended up making a huge difference for him. He didn't have to do Houlihan, he didn't have to skip the chess game. It all worked out from him from that one detour.
Yeah, Carnath having some unlucky streak with Moldorm on the first fight.
Ooh, Skipsy falling as well. Looks like Carnath's going at this with the hammer, which of course does tempered damage, so it's only 3 hits you need, but that hammer hitbox is so weird. There's 2 hits, and there's his 3rd.
Nice job. I definitely prefer hammer strats if I have it on Mothiel. No, sorry, Mothiel Mordorm. My bad.
So that's 2 crystals for Carnath.
Great fight from Skipsy, also taking it down. So it was at least that we had a nice virtual co-op mode there in Hera.
Yeah, we saw some great sync. I think we're going to see some more divergence now as Carnath is headed back. He's going to do Spiral Cave, I expect, and then head into the Dark World and clear out both Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave. That's going to be 6 more items that he can get. And you know what? It doesn't look like he's going to do it, but Turtle Rock is an option at this point.
Well, I have nothing against the idea if he thinks there could be a potential key item, and thinks Ice Rod might be behind something else.
You know, that's the thing, is Turtle Rock is such a time sink when you go into it, but the number of times I have seen a force double dip of Turtle Rock required because you had to go in to get something that gave you the Ice Rod elsewhere, it really eats away at you. And looks like Carnath's going to use Paradox Cave to get back to the top of the mountain. So it does look like he's going to take the Turtle Rock portal to the Dark World. We may yet see him make a dip.
Yeah, because he doesn't even actually have to check it, because he's got all 3 medallions, which is nice.
Over on Skipsy's side, he's headed back into the Dark World, so we could be seeing that chest game check from him. That'll give him the Titan's Mitt.
Yeah, I think he might. I don't think he's done anything with Skull Woods, so I think he might do Skull Woods first.
That's right, it's fully clearable now, and, you know, I expect he might have been a bit nervous about it before, doing it with Green Mail and Fighter Sword. Master Sword and Red Mail is an entirely different story.
Oh, here we go!
All right.
And we're gone. Faking us out, Carnath. Why?
He's just playing with my emotions at this point. No, this makes a lot of sense. You want to check these 6 spots on the off chance that the Ice Rod, and maybe if you're nervous about the Dark Room, the lamp, you want to get those things before you head in if possible.
Yeah, I think that's a fair choice. But he got us good.
Ooh, there's the bow in the hookshot cave.
Definitely a good item, but still Pot is technically out of logic to be beaten since we're missing that lamp.
You know, I'm looking at the items these runners have at this point, and especially with the fire rod, when you can light torches in some of the dark rooms. As these runners, I wonder at what point you say, you know what, if I find the lamp, fine, I'm not going to consider it as required for this game.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, he found the lamp in Super Bunny Cave. Fine.
This might make him have second thoughts about actually going into T-Rock now, because Pot is totally completable.
It certainly is. Oh, and he thinks about it, but he's going to save and quit out of this area. No Turtle Rock just yet.
Yeah, I think I would also go do Pot at this point, because not having the Ice Rod, it's really just a scary thought of doing all of T-Rock and not finding it there.
It looks like he's headed up the mountain. Oh no, he's going to flute away. I thought he was going to get his magic powder, but he may have accidentally fluted there. Alright, Carnath going to head up, end up getting that magic powder, and who knows, we might see a Spike Cave check at this point. Although I suppose, since he's already consumed his red potion, that won't be available to him.
Yeah, well, he could technically catch a fairy if it comes out of one of the bushes, but I don't know if I'd do that gamble.
Those bushes do have good odds of getting a fairy drop, and yeah, that might make the difference. So at this point, what do these runners still need to complete the game? They're going to need the mirror and the flippers to get into the Swamp Palace. They're going to need the Ice Rod to finish up Turtle Rock. And they're going to need those boots to make sure they can get that key off the Torch and Desert.
Yeah, we definitely still got a lot of rando to be had to find our go mode.
And Carnath's going to take the low-hanging fruit here. This is a play I really like. At this point, you've got, you know, a few sequence breaks you could do, or you could just go straight to Palace of Darkness, which has 5 items. It's a crystal. It's a crystal that unlocks the Pyramid Fairy. And you just say, you know what? I'm going to beat this. I've got all the items. Logic says I should be going here.
Yep, and a nice fight by Skipsy.
Yeah, there's Mothula down, so that'll be a second crystal for Skipsy.
My wonder is where Skipsy plans to go after he finally gets the Tier 2 gloves out of chess game.
Yeah, does he play into that Smith quest that Carnath did because he's got the gloves? Do we see him do hammer pegs because we didn't see Carnath do that already? Does Skipsy immediately say, hey, I want to go to the mire area? Oh, looks like he's saving Quit.
I think this might be slightly faster to flute and go back around. I think that's the plan.
That is definitely what he's doing. I haven't timed this game obsessively enough to know if it's faster or not. Although certainly without the Titan's Mitt, you have to make the walk all the way around.
Yeah, it's just I think since he was in the basement, that's the extra walk to get out of the basement and then the walk through Skull Woods.
That is true. And Carnath going to check on this right side of Palace of Darkness.
So it looks like everything he's gotten was an item and small keys.
Yeah, there was a shield along the way, but of course shield's not giving a huge benefit in this game, especially not that first one. But there's the Titan's Mitt for Skipsy. Oh, and Skipsy wants revenge on Thieves Town at this point. He's going to head back in through the basement. We don't know yet whether or not that ether in the basement in the big chest is required, but we do know that's the only thing that could potentially have value for him here.
Very true.
I can see why he goes back and does this. When you die halfway through a dungeon like that, it does sit in the back of your mind and makes you wonder, okay, did my opponent check here? Did they get something that's required? Am I going to lose if I don't go ahead and do this?
Yeah. There's two major thoughts. Is one, you're worried you missed something important, and the other is you just choose to not do it at all, knowing that you lost some time in there in the first place and you're trying to make up time.
That is right. I've seen a lot of runners say take a death in the back of Thieves Town like Skipsy did earlier and say, you know what? If I needed something from there, I've already lost, and so let me just continue on. Either approach really works out, or doesn't work out, depending on the specifics of that seed. Carnath is skipping that harmless Hellway chest. I think he's done the math and knows, hey, the best thing it could be, or the only thing it could be, is a small key, and I'm not going to spend 10 seconds trading a key for a key.
Yep. Usually whenever you finish everything but that one room and you have 2 keys, it always has to be a small key if you've done every other spot.
That's right, because there cannot be a key in this dark maze area, otherwise it'd be too easy to lock yourself out of this dungeon. Carnath finds, instead of a small key, a cape, and another bottle.
Well, that blue potion's pretty nice. I know that having one of those in your back pocket's never bad.
Yeah, I'm not going to turn down finding that. Carnath then has to walk all the way through the maze to get out of here because he's still missing that mirror that we're going to need for Swamp Palace.
Well, that cape, I think Skipsy checked Bumper Cave, right?
I don't believe either runner did.
Well, I could be wrong. I was just trying to remember. But that could actually be something needed. It gives a Spike Cave in sequence now as well, I assume.
It does. For the cape to be, or to put Spike Cave in logic, you need either half magic or another bottle, but Carnath's got 2 already, so cape certainly opens up Spike Cave for us. Alright, so Skipsy's going to head into this blind fight. If you know what you're doing here, this ends up being a really easy fight because blind will always respond the same way to you. You just have to get 3 quick hits at the top like that, then go to the right, dodge that head that's always going to come in the same direction, get 3 more hits off. Third phase is always going to be a bit chaotic, but Skipsy just needs 3 more hits here, and down goes blind. The advantage of the blind fight being it's 3 hits per phase with whatever weapon you're using. Cane of Samaria, Cane of Berna, Fighter Sword, Gold Sword, all the same.
Yep, and I'll always say, if you've ever had the bad experience of having to come into this fight a second time, it's a lot harder because you don't get the chance to do the script anymore.
Yeah, as long as you can stay on the script in that fight, it stays pretty easy, but it's one of those fights, if you get off balance, it just goes sideways, and that's where you want to have your red mail, your 11 hearts that Skipsy had. Not that he needed them, but it certainly would have come in handy in a pinch.
Nice clean fight for Carnath on a Helmasaur.
And Helma's going to drop a piece of heart, which is the same prize Skipsy gets when we finally see one of our runners do the dig game.
It's raining love from Hyrule.
Alright, so Skipsy has that Smith with him. Doesn't have the mirror, so we can't mirror out from here, but he can check on those peg caves. And we didn't see Carnath do that. This could be a big advantage for Skipsy if it turns out to be something good. Particularly if it's the mirror.
Yeah, I've been wondering about this for a while now.
And $20 for hammering down all those pegs manually.
And I think after Carnath checks these locations, he's not going to have too many places left to go.
Well, you know, Misery Mire is still on the table for him. And, you know, I can see why he would have avoided it before, when he was still hoping that he'd find the lamp so he wouldn't have to do it in the dark. That's not a concern anymore. He might still be hoping he can do it with the mirror so that he can route in a check of Checkerboard Cave. But, you know, at some point, you look at the 2 items in the shed, 2 items in the dungeon, the crystal in the dungeon, and that has to be where you start looking.
Yeah, I think Myers the best choice out of what he's got left. I don't think I'd jump into T-Rock when you have a completable crystal dungeon.
No, and part of my hype for Turtle Rock earlier was that Carnath was up there. Walking into it was essentially free. That's not an option for him at this point. It's a long trek up to that dungeon. Skipsy does get there first.
Nothing wrong with some half magic.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong at all with finding that.
And it looks like Ether was not required, so Thieves Town was totally optional.
Oh, that's painful for our runners. Now, interestingly, Carnath is headed back to the village right here. Okay, he's switching to the flute because he wants to get wherever he's going faster. But he's still headed to the village. Are we going to see him do a purple chest check? No, we're going to see a magic bat check.
I mean, I could see purple chest after this too. Since he didn't have mirror, it's still annoying to get over here otherwise. So I'll be curious to see if Skipsy, after getting the items here, chooses to try and do the dark room. I know that it's not the easiest place, but I definitely feel like it's possible.
Oh, that's right. Skipsy did not have the Titansmiths when he went up to Death Mountain, which meant he could not do Dark Death Mountain and get that lamp out of Super Bunny Cave. I'm a bit surprised he didn't try going up there in the Dark World before coming down here, but hey, with the extra money he put into doing Zora, he might feel a bit behind, and he might just feel like, okay, I need to make a big play on Misery Mire here.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement that I feel there's probably some kind of progression here, in all honesty.
Well, yeah, if it's not here, then where could it be? Are we looking then at Turtle Rock or Spike Cave having the progression? We're certainly getting down to the wire.
Definitely. I think the item that make the most sense right now is maybe Flippers.
Oh, Flippers would be scary to find at this point because, that unlocks Ice Palace. And without the mirror, you can't get into Swamp Palace. So then you find yourself considering, do I start running into Pendant Ice Palace hoping for an item? Alright, so Skipsy. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one choice that Carnath also has is he could get the green pendant from Eastern, and that could be progression.
That certainly could. Skipsy's cleared out a fair amount of Misery Mire at this point. I don't believe he's found either of the two items available. He has found the big key. So when he clears this up, heading straight to Vitreous is still an option.
Well, I called that, sorry.
Well done. I'm impressed with you, and I'm sorry for these runners. Oh, and Skipsy's making a play here, headed to the back part of this dungeon. He's powdering anti-fairies to refill his health. I think we're going to see a lot of blackness on Skipsy's screen here.
Yeah, I definitely say it's worth trying at least once while you're here. Because, I mean, if you get it, you don't have to come back. But if you die, it might not be worth trying it a second time.
I mean, this could be a lot worse. Skipsy's doing this with red mail, with 11 hearts, with half magic. Those are all things in his favor. He's got the powder, so if he can get through this first room, the next rooms are pretty easy, and there's anti-fairies to recharge before he gets to Vitreous. He just has to be able to get that block onto the one specific spot for the switch in the dark.
Yeah, this is the room that's the worst part of this whole dark area.
And there he has it. All he has to do is stand exactly one spot to the right of the doorway and throw the block straight up from the bottom, and it'll land right where it needs to be. It's down to 2 hearts here in the dark around that moving spike, though. He's got to be very careful with this. I kind of hope he drinks his red potion at this point.
Well, at least he made it past it. So, oh, Carnath with a fall.
Oh, that's not a nice place to do that. He was on his way to check the big key chest, and it's a long ways back to there. Skipsy, be careful.
Well, Skipsy does have the sword at least to hopefully guide him to do the powder after hitting this button.
I hope so. Oh, misses those anti-fairies and decides to head straight through the rest of the room, get into the light, and powder that anti-fairy. Nice play. He is fine now.
Yep, and since they've got silver... Oh, sorry, he doesn't have the bow yet.
I know, I wish he had the bow right now. Silver Arrows Vitreous is so satisfying. He's going to have to work a bit. Probably a lot of Master Sword spins and maybe a couple hammer hits.
Yeah, if you practice it, using hammer on the main eye is pretty decent compared to the Master Sword spin attacks.
And he at least, you know, he's being fairly effective with his iframes here. Stepping into that goo so he only takes 1 heart of damage at a time, and then he can unleash spin attacks on the small eyes, but a couple of eyes have sniped him. He's down to 2 hearts.
Alright, phase 1.
Oh, and it looks like he's going to go for the safety strat here. Not mess around with that hammer hitbox. He's going to keep Master Swording this, which takes forever, but is incredibly safe in comparison to the hammer.
Yeah, I think it's, if it just normal slashes, it's 30 hits, right?
32 perhaps? Vitreous has an obscene amount of health, but Skipsy gets all those slashes off. There we go. Just a compass for his trouble, but hey, that's another crystal. That's 3 for him.
Yeah, and that was a very well-made fight at the second part. Now with those flippers, will they actually go straight to ice, or will they go up Death Mountain?
Oh, that's a hard question. Looks like Carnath has picked up the big key and is going to beeline straight to Vidya as well. Not messing around with the rest of the dungeon. I can see why he'd do this play. The idea is Vitreous might have an item for you. And if that's the case, then you've got one of your 2 items in the dungeon. And once you find another, you can save and quit out. Unfortunately, it means he's just bailed again. Oh no, he did get the big key spot. He did get his flippers. Never mind.
Yeah, and I like it, Skipsy. I think this is the play that you follow the progression you've gotten and go with it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Skipsy going here. He is going to be delayed getting his bow, unfortunately, but I feel like this is a bit of a gamble, and I think Skipsy is starting to say, okay, Zora took forever. Getting my Titan's Mitts took forever. I feel like I'm behind. I need to start making up some serious ground. Maybe this will have something that my opponent doesn't get for a long time.
That is very true. At least the positive is on our end. We know that Pod didn't really have any progression, so getting the bow early is not going to change anything for him.
Yeah, you know, it's not like doing Pod in Go mode saves a ton of time, but certainly he's not losing anything by skipping that for now. But on Carnath's side, we're seeing Vitreous again, and Carnath has the bow, is not going to be very worried. Look at these silver arrows, they just shred through the eyeballs. I love this fight.
Yeah, it's just arrow practice, basically. So going off the logic, I think that in here, you would think that mirrors probably what would show up, but I think it's going to be boots.
Oh, could be either one. Could be neither. I mean, Carnath did skip out on Turtle Rock. For all we know, Mirror or Boots could be hiding in there. I do think this is a gamble from Skipsy, deliberately heading to a non-required dungeon, but if this is what you have to do to try to make up some time, go ahead and do it. It looks like Carnath's headed there as well.
On Carnath's side, since he's done so many other locations, it's understandable that not as much of this is in sequence. He also hasn't done the flipper locations either.
That's right, he walked all the way to Zora. So in addition to skipping Hobo, he also skipped the Waterfall Cave. And we are still looking for Ice Rod for Turtle Rock, Mirror to get into Swamp Palace, and those dang boots to get the big key off the torch in Desert Palace. In particular, I think if Skipsy finds the Ice Rod in here, that'll be a huge boost for him, because that'll send him up to Turtle Rock and give him the bow from Hookshot Cave along the way.
Yeah, and then he would probably jump straight into T-Rock after that.
But nothing of value coming out of the right side of Ice Palace here. Skipsy is rapidly running out of options for items in here. Nice little play using the hammer to artificially accelerate yourself across that ice. Means you're moving very fast and potentially out of control, but if you can control it, it'll get you through that room quickly. And he's setting up a bomb jump. Oh, takes the fall though.
Thankfully, it's not too bad a one to miss, because you can just go around still.
And with bombs out of the big chest, that's 2 of 3 items here.
I believe.
You believe in what?
I believe in Ice Palace having something.
Ah. And look at Carnath's play. He is headed back to Eastern Palace. I believe there's still an item on the Armos Knights. There's definitely an item from Sahasrahla here.
No, they got all 3 items earlier. I'm pretty sure they didn't even do the back part of it. If I remember correctly.
Oh my goodness, there's the boots for Skipsy in the iced tea room. That's 3 items out of Ice Palace. That is huge for him.
I really need to stop calling the items.
That's an incredible find for Skipsy. He is still going around this dungeon. Maybe there is one more item to find, but Carnath is going to need those boots, and depending on what else drops out of this seed, it could be one of the last places he goes to look.
And for all the watchers, that gives 3 locations. You get King's Tomb, you get Bonk Rocks, and then you get the last island from Land Molas.
Yeah, and that Land Molas item, or rather the Crystal Landmo drops, means those boots were required to beat the game today. And Carnath knows that, Skipsy knows that, but Skipsy's got a leg back up. He's still got a lot of time to make up in other areas, but this brings it closer. Skipsy using fire rod shots to take out the last cold stare puffs. There we go.
Oh yeah, with half magic and fire rod, this is not a bad fight at all.
Oh, and I didn't see what cold stare dropped there.
It should just be a key, I would assume.
So here's the tricky thing if you're rooting for Skipsy right now. As Armos Knights drop a piece of heart for Carnath. If you're rooting for Skipsy to really capitalize on those boots, Carnath needs to find the mirror right about now. Because Carnath's rapidly running out of locations to check. If he gets the mirror, that opens up all the Swamp Palace and he might spend some time in there by accident. If he doesn't start finding things soon, Carnath may be headed into ice as well, which will catch him back up to Skipsy on those grounds.
Sadly, Sahashala having nothing, but Temper Sword out of King's Tomb is definitely nice to find.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Tempered over Master goes so much faster. Could give Skipsy a bit of a lead as he still has a couple dungeons to make up there.
So I think we're going to see Purple Chest finally?
We might. Carnath also still has not done the digging game. Speaking of digging, Skipsy finds the shovel in Bonk Rocks. I hope that's not too much of a red herring for him. Fortunately, it's pretty quick to check with boots.
I think that means both runners might be digging something at the same time, but I guess not.
Oh, Skipsy almost heads into the Dark World at the Mire portal and then realizes, wait, I don't have the mirror. I need to stay in the Light World for this. Nice save.
So besides obviously needing these boots to get done with Desert for progression to get through the game, we'll see if Limbo actually has any other requirements to continue on.
Yeah, there is still one item hiding out in this dungeon for these runners. Looks like Skipsy's going to check the right side of Desert Palace before heading all the way to Landmo. You know, it's kind of a toss-up as to whether you want to do that. It takes a long time to run this way, but there's 2 chests here instead of just one on Landmo. This is one of those times where you really wish you had the mirror to make this routing so much simpler.
Yeah, I'd say if you hadn't gotten any items, though, you pretty much feel like you have to check over here to get one of them.
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, there's the compass, so that last item for Desert Palace is going to be on Land Molas. And Carnath's done a save and quit into a flute. Where's he headed to? Well, he's headed to the Witch's Hut. Charging up on potions, this could be a Turtle Rock or an Ice Palace play.
Yeah, having those potions is definitely a nice safety when you can get the time for them.
Oh, and Carnath is fluted to 8. He's headed into Ice Palace. He is going to find those boots eventually, and that's going to give him some time back against Skipsy.
So at this point, do you think Lambo actually has a progression item, or is it the T-Rock?
I always think it's Turtle Rock. But I will also point out, neither runner's done Spike Cave. Skipsy setting up those key dashes really nicely in the back half of Desert Palace. Key dashes, of course, are something you can do if you're exactly a multiple of 4 pixels away from the door when you start dashing. Then that dash will carry you straight through the door and you won't bonk off of it. The best way to get that effect is to line yourself up exactly with an object and brush past it.
I actually didn't know the exact mechanics of that myself.
Yeah, it has to do with the boots moving you 4 pixels per frame, and so your collision detection lines up if you can run into the door kind of without any remainder of pixels. And counting those pixels yourself is next to impossible and not worth the time, but it's incredibly efficient to just have yourself brush by the lamp as you run, or the torch on the floor, or line yourself up with a wall to start. Desert Palace does not pay off for Skipsy there. But he's headed up the mountain. He's gonna get his bow out of this trip. And we'll have to see, maybe he makes the play into Turtle Rock, which I'm starting to think must be where there's progression.
Yeah, my only worry is that if Ice Rod isn't actually in there and it's maybe in Swamp Palace instead.
That's definitely a concern. The thing is, without the mirror, you're not getting into Swamp Palace yet. But oh no, Skipsy. Skipsy is headed into the Dark World from the bottom part of the mountain. That means he won't be able to open up Turtle Rock on this trip. This is going to be a hookshot cave check, and then maybe a spike cave check. He's out of options otherwise. But, you know, there's Lamp, there's Ned. He's going to find Bo in a couple minutes here.
Yeah, I also very well could see him just do what Carnath did and peace out and go straight to Pod.
That is looking like what he'll end up doing here. Problem is, of course, Skipsy doesn't know this. We know this. Pod doesn't have anything for him.
Looks like it. So at least one positive for Skipsy, since he's got the boots, this will be a slightly faster pod.
That's right. The boots and even the tempered sword, they're giving him a bit of an edge in time. You know, every minute that goes on, he's gaining slightly on Carnath. Unfortunately, it doesn't make up for, again, that lack of rupees we saw from Skipsy that just really hurt his progression at the start.
So based on how this seed's progressing, it's definitely been one to kind of pull the racers back and forth from different areas.
Yeah, it's been one of those seeds where they would get one item kind of piecemealed out, one by one, that gave them new progression and opened up a lot of spots. But their next progression was in the worst spot for them. Kind of the last spot you want to route in. And we're seeing this go double on Carnath's side as he's now taking out Cold Stare rather than check the iced tea room for the boots. And so, you know, these runners have kind of repeatedly been bottlenecked because they didn't make the play to check kind of the worst spot. We saw that with the hammer. We saw that with the boots. And Carnath now knows, hang on, there's still an item in this dungeon. There's still an item in that iced tea room. Hopefully he goes back for those boots.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to tell yourself to come in for a single item when you could just go to T-Rock.
Oh,
But
he's going back in.
Waterfall was checked earlier when Skipsy did a fake flipper.
Most of these out-of-the-way locations have been checked. Waterfall was done. I think Skipsy got a heart container out of it. Pedestal's been checked. It's an arrow upgrade. King's Tomb gave a tempered sword, which is a boost for Skipsy right now. But a lot of places have come up with nothing. A lot of out-of-the-way places came up with nothing. Right now, I think we're down to Spike Cave and Turtle Rock, neither of which is attractive.
No, but it's kind of too bad you can't route them at the same time either.
That's partly why it's so painful. You know, you can go all the way over to Turtle Rock, dive it, and then hope that it comes up being useful for you, so you don't have to do Spike Cave. Or you can do Spike Cave and then leave it, find out it was nothing, and then make the trek over to Turtle Rock. You can't do them both at the same time, effectively.
Yeah,
but it's got to be one of the two.
I'm trying to remember, did we get a bumper cave check as well? I'm still kind of iffy on that one.
Oh, that's a good point. I don't recall seeing either runner go there, and they do have cape now. That is on the table. Skipsy's about to find it. As he sets up his hammer jump. Alright, Carnath about to get to that T-shaped room, which we call the Ice Tea Room, because it looks like a T and it's an ice palace. That is going to have boots for him. Yep. And there's a bomb on that chest, as he says, I did not want to go back for that.
Which means more likely Carnath will be getting Desert done and then probably check out and get his tier 3 sword by the looks of it.
JJ Blue. Has Carnath beaten Eastern? Has Carnath beaten Thieves Town? Has Carnath beaten Ice Palace?
Oh, he didn't. Has he checked the pedestal?
He has not. He could blind pull the pedestal right now. We know it's just an arrow upgrade, and I think he's a bit apprehensive about that. He's not headed there just yet. Oh, and Skipsy's down to half a heart. He's going to intentionally take the death here to warp back to the front of the dungeon so we can go take out Helmasaur King. You know, with the exception of Eastern Palace, which Carnath has had the time to do and Skipsy may or may not do, these runners have really closed the gap with each other. That early boots find, or earlier boots find for Skipsy, gave him a big lead. Carnath having effectively to double run Ice Palace cut into his effectiveness quite a bit. We are seeing this gap close up significantly. I think it'll depend on if Skipsy decides to run Eastern Palace or if he just makes straight for the mountain.
Yeah, after these locations, both of them are going to be almost the same amount of places left, too, with the same amount of stuff completed. So definitely hold tight, folks. This is going to be potentially a very close race.
And, you know, it'll also depend if Carnath goes straight to the mountain from here. He's going to miss checking King's Tomb. And if he doesn't get King's Tomb, he doesn't get that Tempered Sword. You know, if you're running through Turtle Rock on Master Sword instead of Tempered, even to an extent Swamp Palace and certainly Ganon's Tower, the extra slashes you have to do and the risks you can't take, they start adding up.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd still say Carnath has the advantage here, but all it takes is a couple things going a bit wonky, and Skipsy's not out of this race yet.
Yeah, and I'd also say it will depend on what progression item we get and in what order by how this ends out, too. Because if we get Mirror before getting Ice Rod, then there could be even more potential locations checked before getting that Ice Rod.
That's right. All it takes is one runner getting Mirror and getting distracted into a full clear of Swamp Palace, and when it wasn't required, and suddenly things can really shift. And I think chat's right that we also haven't seen the purple chest check. You know, without the mirror, that one often gets put off. But there comes a time when you have to worry, hey, I know it sucks, but maybe the mirror's in that terrible spot.
Well, I can see Carnath maybe rounding it all in, doing King's Tomb, Bonk Rocks, going to the Dark World, checking the Bumper Cave, and then going and getting the purple chest, saving, quitting, and fluting.
Definitely a possibility. Nice landmo fight from Carnath. They're able to use those silver arrows to take it down. Skipsy just going for straight slashes in the jewel on Helmasaur King's head, but look at that. Simultaneous fanfares as they pick up their same crystals. That is, I believe, 5 crystals for each runner.
Carnath's coming up.
Is Carnath doing... No, he's just floating away from the mountain. I thought he was going to give us a Spike Cave check.
I definitely would have wanted to find that out.
But he is going to do Bonk Rocks and get his shovel. He is going to do King's Tomb and get his Tempered Sword. Skipsy's headed back into the Dark World near Palace of Darkness. Where's he off to?
Has he not done Pyramid and Catfish? I thought he did.
He definitely did Pyramid and Catfish long before Carnath did, and I think he's realizing here, hang on, this is not quite where I want to be. Now Carnath's going to get Tempered Sword here. So that will eliminate the sword gap, which, you know, between Tempered and Gold Sword, not a huge change. Between Master and Tempered Sword, a very big difference in your damage output. Oh, and Skipsy's going to sink into an Eastern Palace play. This is going to give Carnath that advantage back.
Yep, and if you're asking about double-chested fairy, we still have to beat Swamp to do that.
Yeah, that is going to be entirely off the table until we find the mirror. So at this point, I think Ice Rod is the only potential thing there, and probably a very late check. Well, Carnath's back up the mountain, and he's gone east, so he's not doing Spike Cave right now. Is he headed into Turtle Rock?
I can't blame it. It's got a relatively high chest density in one location.
Five potential items, guaranteed to be at least 4, even if one item is sitting on Trinex. You can clear out the entire dungeon all the way down to the laser bridge And, you know, it's a thing I've seen really often in this tournament. I would not be surprised to see it again here. Mirror somewhere in Turtle Rock. Ice Rod blocked behind the mirror.
Yeah, and it'd be a really funny scenario if Mimic Cave has the Ice Rod.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I like these runners. What did they do to you?
But if they find Mirror in T-Rock, it's actually great.
As long as it's here, yeah. Ooh, Carnath misses the first torch he tries to go for with his hook shot. Still gets that second torch. Drags himself down into the pit to get off that platform and through the next door. He's just going to do some cape strats in this room to not worry about damage or safety. As Skipsy cleans up those Armos Knights, gets that useless green pendant.
Now I think for one of the most dangerous rooms in the game, barring dark rooms, our Chain Chomp friends.
Look, the Chain Chomp room isn't terrible. All you have to do is dodge enemies that can't be killed, that do 4 hearts of damage to green mail, and all you have to do is push blocks that give no indication they can be pushed to make an invisible chest appear. It is that bad of a room. But fortunately, red mail takes the bulk of the hurt off of those chain chomps, makes it pretty tolerable.
Looks like
Skipsy is.
Go ahead.
Well, look where he is. Where's he going?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think we're going to finally get those checks we've been waiting on. What is Bumper holding for us?
Ooh, this is nerve-wracking. Oh, just 20 bucks.
Well, that's half of them. Are we going to get the other one too?
I think we're going to see a purple chest play here from Skipsy. Carnath made it to that lava chest and just got the red boomerang, which most runners consider inferior because, hey, yeah, it goes further, yeah, it goes faster. It also slows the game down.
Yeah, and you can accidentally make it fly off the whole screen.
Looks like Skipsy is going to check everything he possibly can before diving into Turtle Rock. We're going to see him do this purple chest here, and at the rate he's been going, I think we'll see a Spike Cave check before he goes up to T-Rock.
Yeah, these right here, as they're both going, this is the moments that could make or break the race depending on what happens.
Carnath can't check Mimic Cave there because he's missing that mirror. Big chest just has a small key, so still a bunch of items, but Carnath's going to have to go through a few more rooms to get something.
Purple chest being just 20 rupees, so we only have one outside of Turtle Rock location that could have progression.
Yeah, and Skipsy knows this. He's starting on the mountain. And he is going to use that spin speed to dodge around these cabbages quickly and head into Spike Cave before Turtle Rock. Oh, and Carnath stops off in the big maze room of Turtle Rock for that full magic refill. He wants to use this cape for the laser bridge, I bet. Yes, you can skip those lasers with the boots, but you really have to know where you're lining yourself up, or you take a lot of damage quickly. If you can just cape and half magic your way through this, it goes much more effectively. There's the mirror!
Now, if the ice rod's not here, I hope Carnath does mirror back to check that last spot.
I hope so too. Oh no! He just skipped Mimic Cave. Now this may be fine. This may be fine. Mirror unlocks, you know, the cave south of the Haunted Grove, the Graveyard Ledge, as well as all of Swamp Palace, where I think he's headed, and the Bombos Tablet. Mirror unlocks a lot, but Mimic Cave being left behind really makes me nervous for him.
Yeah, there's a good chance that Ice Rock could be any of those locations that isn't it. I just don't want that chance to happen if I'm the runner.
Unfortunately, you know, that's just one of those things. The moment when you pick up Mirror on the Laser Bridge is the best time to use it, so you can mirror back to the entrance right by Mimic Cave. But keeping that in mind is really difficult because you pick up the mirror and suddenly you just start thinking in your mind, hang on, how many locations do I still have to check? Where else is available? And you kind of go into mirror mode as opposed to T-Rock mode. It's completely understandable. I just hope for Carnath's sake it doesn't end up hurting him.
Yeah, I would definitely agree though, after you leave T-Rock, Swamp is definitely the best play for items. You get 6 chances, as well as the fact that you'll get the other crystal for Fat Fairy.
Yeah, now we might see Carnath do something a bit nifty here. What we might see is that he goes straight to the back and clears out the dungeon, and clears out the back half. And then only if that's a bust does he end up full clearing it. Because at this point he's 1 item from go mode. He knows as soon as he sees Ice Rod that he's done.
Yep, so it's literally where's the Ice Rod game now.
Now, of course, you know, Carnath's cleared so much of this game already. If it turns out the Ice Rod was in Mimic Cave, it's not that he won't ever find the Ice Rod, it's just that he'll check every other overworld spot before going there. And, you know, that's the kind of little time save that, for Skipsy, would make a big difference.
Yeah, it's that. I really don't ever enjoy having Ice Rod as the last item for go mode, because it could literally be any place in the whole game except on Trinex.
Alright, so Carnath using the boots to go a bit faster through these slower water areas of Swamp Palace. A piece of heart in that south loop. Oh, and he is going to give us a full clear of Swamp Palace before going further. Oh, I was worried for a second there he was going to flood the key by accident.
That would have been very unfortunate. I've done that way too many times already.
Essentially, the way it works is with the hookshot coming into Swamp Palace, you can grab an extra small key from the big room. Normally that key is locked behind the hookshot, and that key lets you open up the door to the right that lets Carnath into this room. If you immediately push that lever, you flood the area down below that has a small key, and now you can't clear the left side of the dungeon. Alright, Skipsy's making his way through Turtle Rock. He's got that red boomerang. Still just making steady progress. It's all going to come down to, does he check Mimic Cave immediately, and does it have Ice Rod? I think if it doesn't have Ice Rod at this point, Carnath's probably got this game in the bag.
Yeah, there's a relatively good chance that Carnath is ahead.
Well, I think at this point, you know, they've both checked the entirely same set of locations. They've cleared basically everything in their hunt for the Ice Rod and the mirror. And so based on that and just what's left to do, Carnath's going to have less.
Yeah,
And at this rate, I think he's going to be out of Swamp Palace before Skipsy even gets in.
This is true. I think Carnath will be ahead for sure, unless the Ice Rod is in, obviously, Mimic Cave. But if Skipsy decides to not go straight to Swamp, but instead hits up one of the other side locations and it has Mirror, he won't be as behind as he could be.
That's definitely correct. Skipsy using those iframes from the crystal popping up to safely get through that roller room and then bonk off the wall to hop over. Probably see him pick up that full magic refill as well here.
Yeah, I like that strata bouncing over it with the boots.
And Carnath's going to have 2 chests down here in the back half of Swamp Palace. Let's see what he's got. Oh, just bombs and a compass for him.
Some money. Sadly, they already have a lot.
Alright, Skipsy gets that mirror from the laser bridge. We're going to have to see very carefully what he does here now. There's a second shield. Alright, and Skipsy remembers about Mimic Cave. He mirrors there.
Carnath on to a nice fight here. When you got Hookshot and Tempered, this is a pretty easy fight.
Yeah, this is one of those fights. Tempered takes out each puff in 1 hit. Master Sword is just 2. It's one of those places that really makes the difference. Skipsy just finds a bottle in Mimic Cave, so he gets a B, but there's no Ice Rod. And Carnath finishes off Argus, gets that 6th crystal, and obnoxiously finds that big key on the boss. He's already got the compass and map from this dungeon, so if he wants to clear out everything, he has to go back in to check that big chest. He's going to do that here.
Yeah, I definitely would. You can't give it a chance at this point with so few locations left.
So if it's not that big chest, it's got to be overworld somewhere.
Which is Cave 45, Bombos Tablet, Graveyard Ledge. I think that's the only ones.
Checkerboard Cave.
Oh, Checkerboard Cave, you're right.
So fortunately, I think there's an obvious order to do these in. You do Bombos because it's right here, then you do the Cave 45, the cave south of the Haunted Grove here, and then after that, you're kind of 50-50. Probably you do Checkerboard first because it's a bit faster than Graveyard Ledge, and if you're in Carnath's position, you just bank on the other racer doing the same order as you, so that you're hopefully not losing any time there.
Yeah, I agree that that's the safest way as far as time that you put in checking all the locations. And now that Skipsy is going to be more than likely doing a full clear of Swamp, Carnath will have a decent lead going into the tower.
But, you know, both of them have to be really nervous here. Skipsy knows that he lost a lot of time, again, on rupees at the start, as well as Mirror being in the last spot he could find it. Carnath saw that as well. There's the Ice Rod for Carnath, south of the Haunted Grove. He is in go mode, finally, after that terrible, terrible required double dip in Turtle Rock.
Go mode hype! But,
you know, if you're in Carnath's position here, you have to be nervous. You can't be thinking that you've definitely got a lead because you've cleared so much of the game at this point.
Yeah, and he went to ice relatively late too, so he probably felt that progression also hindered him, because getting boots early is always nice to just play the game faster.
I think at this point, if you're in Carnath's shoes, you just hope that the other runner made the same routing decisions you did. And he's not wrong to hope at that. Skipsy, as well, put off Turtle Rock for as long as it was possible.
Yeah, so many runners don't like going into Turtle Rock without that ice rod, and I can understand why. Double dipping T-Rock definitely is a decent time sink.
And it looks like Skipsy did not do the left side of Swamp right away. Probably banking on finding that ice rod in the back half here so that he doesn't even have to touch left side. It'll be nice he doesn't end up wasting a ton of time on that big chest check because he's doing left side on a revisit anyways, but hey, this whole thing isn't going to work out because Ice Rod's not in Swamp Palace.
Very true. This has been one crazy race, though, how the progression's been pushing them.
So many locations opened up at once, and then routing-wise, the least effective place, having that next progression, meaning it's the last spot you want to check, meaning it's the last spot you do check over and over and over. As Skipsy takes out that first phase of Argus and heads into the second phase. He's going to line up a silver arrow shot, doesn't quite get it there. Ooh, having trouble landing that arrow with the speed Argus moves at, but all it takes is going to be one, and he can finish this fight. He's going to bail on that idea and just say, you know what, 2 tempered spins does the trick too.
Yeah, once he starts getting going, he moves a whole lot faster than a lot of the bosses in this game actually do.
I mean, Vitreous's Big Eye may take 2 silver arrows to finish, but at least it moves so slowly you can't miss.
And we'll finally get to see our good friend Trinex after a long visit away.
Yeah, fortunately, at this point, Trinex becomes a trivial fight, especially when you've played the game as much as these runners have. 15 hearts, half magic, red mail, you're in no danger for anything. All it takes is 5 slashes to each head, and you'll be fine. You'll see that Carnath switches to the fire rod before he finishes off the fire head. That's because you can't switch items while the menus, or while something's exploding on the screen. So he has to preemptively switch items. But hey, it's 5 hits on the right head, and he's into the second part of this fight here.
And a nice clean finish.
So that's 7 crystals for Carnath, and we have a little game we like to play as he's going to be on his way to Ganon's Tower right now. And we're back. Fortunately, Skipsy doesn't have to do laser bridge twice.
Carnath having some not the most favorable patterns over here in Agatu.
No, fortunately, fortunately for Carnath, Skipsy's going to have to do the same ones as well. We always keep it so that those major boss RNGs are consistent between both runners, and that's 6 hits. That'll take down Agatu for Carnath. He is on his way to winning this, but he's got to be quaking in his boots at this point.
Yeah, he's just like, let me get to the fight as fast as possible. Get it done so I can find out if I got it or not. T-Rock having the theme of bees and bottles.
Yeah, you know, it's funny enough to see one bottle that late in the game. It's quite funny to end up seeing both a bottle in Mimic Cave and on Trinex there. And Carnath opting to go through this fight the fast way, taking full advantage of that half magic and maybe a blue potion he might still have. Just using that cape to get his 12 hits in on phase 2 in one single cycle.
With half magic, the cape is such a great commodity in the Ganon fight.
Yeah, and with silver arrows, you know, he can't just spam his fire rod, but he can be a bit wild with it in terms of just hitting torches multiple times if he needs to. It's not like he needs to get 12 silverless spins, it's just 4 quick hits, and often you can get 2 or 3 per cycle.
Definitely.
There's that torch glitch, though, and he's being cautious enough to use the lamp. Ooh, doesn't quite get off the triple, but there we go. That is 4 silvers on Ganon, and Carnath has won this race.
Very solid finish there.
So he's going to walk through that door and win that race with an official time of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 22 seconds, and he's already here joining us. Congratulations on that run, Carnath.
Thank you, guys. I'm not sure how I won that one, though.
Well, there was a lot of sync up in the route you two decided to take. Turtle Rock was right at the end for both of you.
I hate double dipping Turtle Rock, which is why I delayed it so long. And then I didn't have the mirror, I didn't have the ice rod. I'm like, one of them's got to be here. I don't know why I didn't check the pedestal though.
Well, your opponent ended up checking the pedestal in the first 10 minutes of this race, and it turned out to just be, I think, an arrow upgrade.
Oh, certainly glad I didn't go there.
There was a moment where we actually thought you were headed in that direction, but you were just making another trip into the Dark World.
My routing was just garbage today. I mean, I kept going back for places I'd missed. Like I regret I never did check the purple chest.
$20 there, I think. So Skipsy's just on Mimic's 2 right now in Ganon's Tower. And he ended up clearing basically every possible spot in the overworld before doing Turtle Rock, and you left, I think, about 2 or 3 spots behind before you went in.
They were all sitting in the back of my mind, and when I went through Swamp and still to have the ice rod, I'm like, it's got to be mirror lock somewhere. And my first thought was like, well, I haven't done the forest or anything like that, so I guess I'll go check Ledge.
Yeah, and you never turned in your shovel, did you?
No, I think I got that fairly late. I forgot about that one too.
Yeah, that was locked behind the boots. And one weird quirk of this race was, for a good portion of it, you were ahead. But Skipsy managed to dive into Ice Palace a while before you did, and pulled those boots early.
I was really considering leaving Ice Palace, but well, as I've put in all my chats, pendant dungeons are always required.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, another key point of this race, early on, you actually had enough money to go to Zora right away. Your opponent actually had to get up the money. They chose to pass the desert ledge.
Yeah, there was 300 rupees there, and you know that gave you early Zora money, but it also gave you enough for the chest game, your first trip to Village of Outcasts, and that had the Titan Spin. And Skipsy didn't have that advantage, so he ended up doing Houlihan for Zora, and then skipping chest game on his first trip, and those Titan Spins kind of blocked him for a while.
Oh man, yeah, no, it's they were handing rupees to us left, right, and center, so I figured Zora must have been a big play, but as usual, well, life lessons.
Well, wasn't Zora Hammer in this race?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he totally was. Never mind.
Yeah. Not to worry, we all see so many seeds on any given day. It can be challenging to keep them all straight.
Yeah, I'm just so used to him handing out crap, but I think actually, like, the practice seed I did earlier this week, he had the glove as well, so he's actually been paying out this week.
And we are correct, an arrow boost was on the pedestal.
So yeah, this was, we remarked on this a few times, this was just kind of a mean seed. Not that it made you do anything low percent, not that it gave you ridiculous double dips aside from that Turtle Rock one. It was more just that all the good options didn't work for you multiple times. You know, the Zora play, the boots in Ice Palace, the mirror at the back of Turtle Rock. Each one of those plays was like, really? You want me to do that? Was there ever a play that, you know, you thought you should be gambling but just didn't want to do it?
Really, yeah. I mean, Turtle Rock was definitely one of the last gambles I took. I really contemplated doing that right after I did Hera, because I'm pretty sure I had the Fire Rod and the Cane to get through it.
You did.
But for some reason, I was like, yeah, no, I want the Ice Rod before I go in there. And, well, if I'd done that, I probably would have done this in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, we saw you physically go in and then leave. I was definitely down to see that play happen as early as you could have done it.
Yeah, I went in. I'm like, well, you know, before I do that, maybe I'll go do Hookshot and Super Bunny. And, well, that didn't really... It paid off with the bow, and that then I was like, well, I've got the bow. I'm also going to do all these other dungeons that are technically in Logic now.
So yeah, I definitely agree with the choice. When you get bow and flute, and sorry, not flute, lamp, that's basically saying, "Hey, pod, come over here."
Agreed.
Hey, Pod, come over here and give me the cape so that I can get distracted by Spike Cave and Bumper Cave instead of actually getting something useful.
Oh, I don't even know if I checked Spike Cave at this point.
I don't believe you did. I think it was just Skipsy that ended up going there.
Too many practice seeds this week. Did Skipsy ever find the 4th sword upgrade?
He did. It was actually... So he finished off Swamp Palace, and he immediately went over to Bombo's tablet, of course. And then, before doing Cave 45, did the Pyramid Fairy.
Oh, yeah, Pyramid Fairy. Forgot about that one, too.
So yeah, that vanilla tier 4 upgrade.
Oh yeah, I suppose that was vanilla at this point.
But I just want to go ahead and throw out, it was a good race, man. GG to you. Also say, appreciate everybody coming out and watching this race so far. It's been a great race.
Yeah, it certainly gave us a lot to watch and a lot to speculate about. Skipsy's stream, unfortunately, is frozen, but he has finished this race with a time of 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 46 seconds, and we're going to bring him in right now. And Skipsy, GG.
GG.
GG,
Hey guys.
Skipsy.
GG, Carnath. Wow. The seed was horrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a reasonable outlook to have on it at this point, I think.
Yeah, I gotta say,
Turtle Rock was double dip required, and there was all the stuff, all those locations to check to go for Ice Red. This was horrible. Oh my gosh. I don't have any words for it. You guys take over.
Well, I mean, as you said, it was just kind of everything was bad. Everything was frustrating about that routing at times. I know from experience that getting mirror that late just makes you frustrated because you know you're not being efficient and you worry about what your opponent's doing. Skipsy, I think you had a really good rebound in this race when you found those boots. At that point, you had been set back a bit just on account of not having money for Zora for chest game, and those boots really brought you back. Finding those boots in Ice Palace maybe 15 minutes before Carnath did really gave you a boost. Gave you that early Tempered Sword. You cleared a number of extra dungeons with Tempered. Ultimately, it just kind of came down to Carnath had that little bit of lead and kept with it execution-wise. It's been a long time since I've seen two runners who kind of cleared the same dungeon in the same amount of time. That was really impressive to see.
Oh, I really need to watch the VOD, like trying to find the mistakes. I feel like
you and me both.
Yeah, I feel like my biggest mistake was not going into Turtle Rock earlier. Like, I hate this is like my one thing that I just suck at this game, like double dipping Turtle Rock. I really do everything to not double dip Turtle Rock, which is it's costing me the race probably.
I think we literally saw you do everything you could do to avoid Turtle Rock, and Carnath did literally everything but two things he could do to avoid doing Turtle Rock.
So I had a question, Skipsy.
Sure.
Did you see the desert ledge when you went in the desert that first time?
Yes, I checked it. And I bit my tongue for a bit to not have picked it up. Like, normally I route Zora when I have flippers, but at that point, Zora was the last place to go to get the hammer, right? So what was the quickest thing I could do? Like, do Houlihan Room and then prey on some rupees by doing the fake flipper run. And there were 20 red rupees in the cave.
Yeah, it was very fortunate that those 20 came out. Otherwise, you might have been farming for a bit.
I don't like sequence breaking so much anymore, so I was really hesitant to do this play, but it was the only quick play I could have thought of at that moment.
Yeah, at that point, both of you guys pretty much figured out that Zora had to have the progression because y'all had checked everything else first.
So, I know we're only 2 weeks into this tournament, and both of you are still in contention for advancing through the Swiss rounds. You know, the math generally saying with only 2 losses you can still advance. Anything in particular you're doing as part of training during tournament weeks as opposed to general play before the tournaments?
Trying to improve my routing.
Well, I'm going the other way around. I'm trying my PB and NMG is still like 15 minutes off of the world record. I know, of course, I won't ever reach this world record like easily, right? It takes hard dedication and time. But if I can still improve my gameplay by like 8 minutes, then I would be happy to like, I think that's my biggest problem, being execution-wise, right?
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. I wouldn't say your execution for either of you was bad in this race, but there's always, you know, spots to improve. There's always the potential to stop bonking so much. I know that's one I struggle with. Go ahead.
I don't think it's bad. Like, my execution isn't bad overall, but it's not good enough to compete with the top runners in this tournament. And that's what we're here for. Like, trying to have fun, of course, but also trying to improve.
Right, that's an important outlook to have, is if you're trying to get to the top of the brackets, what can you do to improve yourself? And, you know, routing seed to seed is going to play out in different ways, but knowing the best rooms, or the best strategies room by room for some of those long dungeons, Turtle Rock, Ice Palace, Misery Mire, being able to clear those rooms efficiently and consistently is definitely going to give you a big time save the more you practice it.
Yeah, and one thing that's big with this tournament, we recently just had the change to the newest version of the randomizer, and the logic has changed quite a lot from the last one.
Yeah, that's a big point. Like, I feel like the other seeds were like always ranging from 130 to 2 hour seeds, right? Those seeds are totally random. Either you have over 2 hour seeds for everyone, like even the good runners, Christos, etc. Or you have extremely quick seeds, like in this version I had my first PB doing, randomizer personal best, going for like 135 or something, which was really quick for my pace.
Definitely.
Yeah, it does really feel, random nowadays in terms of how long it can take to complete a seed.
I personally prefer it in this sense because it makes every place actually be important, whereas in the last version it was a lot more just about going to dungeons.
Yeah, that's certainly a shift we've seen in the meta. All right, we are going to wrap things up pretty quickly here. If you've enjoyed this race, make sure to give both these runners a follow. I have a feeling they're going to be practicing a lot. I'm going to keep an eye on each of them throughout the tournament. If you want more Link to the Past Randomizer, it's all over. It's on Speed Gaming 5 right now. It's on a Link to the Past Randomizer right now. it's here again on Speed Gaming 2 coming up in 25 minutes. And then it's on Speed Gaming 4 at midnight Eastern Time as well as getting in a few matches tomorrow. And of course, Sunday night we re-roll the pairings for round 3, and we're going to have matches all through next week and all the weeks to come. I want to give a big shout out to Climbing Coder for keeping that tracker updated at the bottom, even as he fought with some technical issues. Well done on his part. Thanks to the Speed Gaming Network for hosting these matches. Look at those collection rates. That's pretty darn close between these two runners. Nicely done, gentlemen. I'm going to give the final word to my co-commentator, JJ Blue. Have a good night, everyone.
Once again, I appreciate everybody. Both of y'all run a great race. It was enjoyment watching all this. I love all you guys. Just remember to fly high. And finally on, I enjoyed every moment of our COCOM.
Yeah, thanks you guys for hosting this.
Thank you guys as well from my side. And GG Carnath.
You as well, man. Thanks.